Welcome back to the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast. We keep it real about the highs and lows of life. And I, as your host, Nathan Cabrera, season 2 coming through, dive into raw conversations about failures, comebacks, and the lessons that turn setbacks into success. Whether you're grinding through a challenge or celebrating a win, this show is here to remind you that it is all a part of the journey. So here with us, expect real stories, unfiltered insights, and a few laughs along the way. I mean, it does happen. Tune in and get inspired to turn your trip ups into triumphs. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am, like I said, your host, Nathan Cabrera. It has been quite a few months already. And look, I have a freaking horror movie t-shirt on. If anybody knows me, I don't be playing with that. Not in my house, not in my eyes. Nope. I'm terrified. But I have a horror movie. It's the Ghostface mask thingamajiggy from Scream. That's like the only movie that I'll tolerate because it's kind of fake, right? Some people might not agree. I don't know. But my last couple months has been kind of like a horror movie. It's been good, but then it wasn't. This year has been horrible. And if you're like, what the heck happened to last episode? Because like you were listening to an episode and then it just like cut off abruptly. Well, that was not intended, but that's just the way it went out. I've been dealing with a lot of things, and I thought that was a good time to start recording again. And you all know that I took a break during the holidays to respect people's holidays. So it's already been a few months and it has flown by incredibly fast. So the last time we kind of spoke was around like the beginning of the Thanksgiving holiday, I assume. And then hopefully everybody's had a wonderful Christmas. I went on vacation, best trip of my life. Even though my season was abruptly taken off course, my doing, I'm responsible for it. And I really don't have any regrets. I regret bringing someone else into my mess. It's been a wild ride, a lot of revelations and a lot of getting back to me. But I took a little break, but I'm back to me. Yeah, you're still stuck with a hot mess express on his way to success. Right here. Peace and love to my people. You know who you are. And also to other ones that have lifted me up in prayer the last couple weeks. Oh, man, I immensely appreciate all of you. It has been a wild ride. The new year has not been good to me. And I just like being honest with you all. So I did start to record. I was a mess. I was crying uncontrollably. And this month, like, this is why, like, if you're watching, there's no filters, okay? These bags are there, hopefully not to stay. They'll go away. Yeah, I've been an emotional wreck. And let me tell you, the consensus of the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast is a lot all over the place, but good all over the place. And some people were like, hey, is this re-traumatizing you? Is this bringing things back up to the surface that, maybe I avoided? Intrinsically, is that the right word? To put it plainly, no. However, some things like have kind of like resurfaced, or just some of my other parts of me that needed addressing and needed nurturing and care and growth. So I am on a personal growth journey, and you will hear more about that as episodes progress. Some of you that follow my socials may have seen me post a couple of different things, but we'll get to that when necessary. I contend to be an overshare. Like a lot of times that's so that, hey, you can't use that crap against me, because guess what? I already confessed. I already shared. There's nothing that you can say that will embarrass me or bring about shame. Guilt, maybe. Yeah, guilt. I have a lot of guilt for a lot of things that I've done in my past and more recently. So I just want to address that part and just say, like, yeah, I am trying my best to look ahead and look forward. Sorry for those of you that have that on max, but yeah, that's an exercise that I started vocal coaching. So that's one of the exercises that we do to get our voices prepped. So we'll get it right into it before we go through this journey of trip ups and triumphs, right? It wouldn't be a trip ups and triumphs show if we don't talk about the trip ups. And yeah, this season, I'm excited. Y'all know I love to preface things with a preface and another preface. Today's episode is going to cover it's okay not to be okay. Yeah, I'm really I'm really talking to myself here, but I want to encourage all of you that are going through things. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you're high class, low class, middle class, white collar, blue collar. We all go through some trauma. We all go through loss. We all go through heartache, some type of pain. Something is going to kind of affect this straight line path that we all seem to like want and to achieve. They're hiccups, they're trip ups, they're stuff that builds character, as they say. But let me tell you, I do not need any more character, y'all. Yeah, no more character, please. I don't need any more character development. Let me just finish finish the final product of this character that I'm trying to embody and be my truest form of myself. What does that look like? What is my identity? Who am I? What is my mission in life? Yeah. But, I like to mix it up a little bit and really encompass, stories about guests. So we'll definitely have more of that coming soon. Really excited about some of the voices we'll get to hear. You hear, of course, some of my personal stories, and then also self help tips and tricks that will keep you going about your days and your weeks and months ahead. So it's okay to not be okay. Where the heck did this come from? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Guys, I have not been okay. Yeah. If I showed you every picture and video that I've taken in the last 20 days, it'd be a hot mess. Yeah. I'd definitely be seeking attention at that point. And it's just been really cruddy, really cruddy. But I've upped my therapy sessions. I've joined some support groups. I have reached out and gone out of my way to connect with people that I know would be really supportive of me during this time of need and spiritual mentors. I've really got back into journaling again. So, and prayer. So some of that might not work for you all, but this is what works for me. And so far, so good. It has made incremental pivots and shifts to my day. I'm still crying. I'm still grieving in a sense, and that is a part of the process. But why it's okay to be okay? Well, that's life. When you're thinking about every day in a year, there's probably one or two times that you can recall that you just weren't your best self. And it could be a lack of sleep. It could have been something someone said that poked at your insecurities. It could have been a relationship ending, a friendship ending, whatever it may have been. But a lot of times it kind of like it hits at us and we're like so used to social media telling us that we're supposed to be happy all the time and just thriving and no one wants to hear about messy stuff that we suppress those feelings that are part of human life. So I know I have the tendency, my friend actually told me that I was talking to that Nathan, like you've worn masks for so long. I don't even know if you know who you are and how great of a person you are. And I'm like, oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Especially because of like times where I have not felt great and feel like I've really, messed up and or affected other people. I I rather other people be doing really well and just me taking the brunt of it. That's the wonders of people pleasing. But yeah, society tends to reward productivity, not honesty. So we tend to always share about like, oh, look at this project I did, look at this job I got, look at this car I got, all these different things that people typically do and post on social media. Those of us that tend to feel like other people care about those things, and in some ways we do. It helps feel that dopamine and that rush, and you kind of like seeing people do well, but then you start to acknowledge like, wait a minute, why am I starting to feel bad here? Let me get more rushes of dopamine and feel good for a second, but why do I feel bad? This person's spending time with their family, my family's all messed up. Culture sometimes rushes healing, so especially if like you're in a church community or a faith-based community, maybe some other environments, but I know that relates to me. We tend to be like, hey, let's pray, move on, get up, get wait a minute. I'm still crying. I'm still grieving. Let me sit in my mess. Let me feel sorry for myself for a minute. Would you? Comes a time where you have to end that. That's kind of like the days that I'm approaching, but I really needed to make some decisions for myself. And I'm also glad that other people that were involved and invested as well took the steps that I couldn't. I didn't feel strong enough, but I felt like it was the best decision. And then men, for those of you men that are talking, listening out there, we're taught to suppress pain. Like you're not allowed to show emotion. Don't be a XYZ. Gosh, I was called so many things growing up. Anytime I cried or showed any emotion that wasn't like tough. So it tends to create a hard-hearted person, suppressing pain and the anger, or you've gone through it and you just don't want to feel that. And your body naturally does want to remove those toxic feelings and go back to its norm. So it might avoid, it might dissociate, might use other tools and coping mechanisms to get to that point. I'll definitely be talking about that in a future episode very soon. We're all good at it. And then trauma tends to teach us about survival and not processing. So, my situation, these things that, we've talked about in episodes past innately weren't, re traumatizing me, but it's how I process those things that built this person of a survival fight or flight mode. And I'm kind of like not reaping the benefits. What's the word I'm looking for? I act in that same nature in other parts of my life because that's what I'm used to. And I don't typically process them as those things are happening, like what's actually happening, right? I tend to make assumptions. I jump to conclusions. I go from 0 to 100. And some people listening are probably like, yes, that's me. Or, yeah, that's you. And yeah, let's take a deep breath. Yeah, I need that. So, and trauma teaching you that survival could look like so many other things. It could be why you don't trust people. It could be why you've become a scammer, a hustler, a sex addict, all those things. And you haven't really processed what you need to because it hurts. It opens up that wound and creates that pain, that little bubble that's about to explode and pop. Makes you not feel so good. But like I said, more on that later. Not being okay doesn't mean you're failing. That's the key truth. It means you're human. Ding, 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 ding. Y'all. Yeah, it means you're human, guys. If you're not okay, you can reframe okay as showing up anyway. You gotta, one thing that I've learned through therapy is like the way I think might not always be the most helpful way to think. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just like, is this helpful to be this way? Like, not being okay. I feel like my world's falling apart. Who else has felt like that, right? So one of the things that I decided to do, love the text messages in the middle of my show, was acknowledge that I need help. I needed an intervention. I was going to my boiling point, and I've felt like this in times past where I'm losing myself, I'm losing it all, and then in this specific instance, I'm including someone else. And personally, I didn't feel like I was in the right direction. And the tools that I were using were not from the right tool bag. And thankfully, like people reached out to me, there was difference in me, but asking for help, whether that's therapy, whether that's a friend, somebody, I guarantee you there's someone that will be okay with you sharing with them that you're not okay and to deal like you need support on this. And even if it's just a listening ear, taking one step is better than no steps. You don't have to take 10 right away. A lot of times we want to get from point A to Z so fast. It's like bum rushing, through a game of like Mario on the stage and not really enjoying the scenery and collecting coins and getting the stars and 100% mission complete. It's just rushing through to get to the end and your anxiety is just going because you're like thinking about end goal. End goal is great, but sometimes you have to put the brakes on certain things and observe it through a different lens than maybe you are currently thinking about things, right? And then choosing honesty over image. Ooh, this one's a hard one. Yeah, I more than likely have been guilty of, yeah, I've been through some things, but let's not talk so much about that. Let me show you where I am now. See, there's that little saying that people tend to say, like, I don't want to forget where I came from. Well, that doesn't always hold up in actuality. We all think that that sounds good, but we do tend to forget those things. So, challenge you, challenge myself really as well to choose honesty. Let's take a self-evaluation and say, like, where are you right now? What is your temperature? What is your health meter? Where's your mental game at? Blah, blah, blah. over image, instead of like looking good all the time and portraying this character that doesn't quite fully embody you. And it's okay. Like, we're not one dimensional beings and characters. We are full of free will and ambition and thoughts and souls. And, there's so many parts to us, and we're such complex creatures. I know data and marketing, my background's in marketing. We love to make generalizations of people, but everything about this specific person, let's say if they're thinking about politics or we're thinking about race or culture, everything is not necessarily true when you make a generalization about someone. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense to me. But yeah, I just really hope that you all are getting the understanding, like, it's okay to not be okay. We will go through this time and time again. And especially for someone like me that tends to be positive, optimistic, or just want things to be good. An old friend told me, you always want to rush to the solution, or you get frightened at the sight of conflict. Heck yeah, I don't want conflict because I know conflict turns into this mess or that mess, but conflict is inevitable. It's all in how you manage it, process it, and I was going to say create a solution, but I mean, there's a resolution per se, and it's not always what we want it to be. But again, with that, I want you guys to just pause for a second. Again, one thing that I like to do is take a moment of silence. So let's take 5 seconds to just breathe for a second. Wherever we're going, we could be on our car ride to work or at our desk. Just like center yourself for a second. And all right. Yes, yes, yeah. The one other thing that I wanted to mention about like honesty is there's so many parts that we can assess when it comes to honesty. Uh, we can't heal what we keep pretending doesn't hurt. So if you're not okay, get to the bottom of like why you're not okay. Why are you not okay? Really think about it. Why aren't you a 10 today? Why aren't you a 9, 8, or 7? If you're a 7, why aren't you an 8? If you're a 4, why aren't you a 5? It's really thinking and stop the avoidance. It's okay to like put things away, and because right now you don't want to be overstimulated or feel bombarded by the nature of this big thing you have hanging over your head, and you need to like come to terms with it and just address it at some point or another. If not today, maybe tomorrow. I know for some of us that's easier said than done, because if you're someone that's an anxious person, you just don't want to like dealing with the inevitable. But just don't pretend that it doesn't hurt. If you're playing pretend, you're gonna be pretending in a lot of other areas of your life, and you're just not gonna be yourself, or you're gonna be like not your healthiest version of yourself. And I would hate to see that. But look, we're gonna keep this episode short and sweet. I just wanted you guys to know it's okay to not be okay. Okay? You dig? So I love you guys. I want you to celebrate this week with something good for your inner child, your better half. Do something for you this week. Do something for you this week. You owe it to yourself. Hopefully, the next time you see me, you won't see this shirt, because I don't want to be in any more horror movies. My heart has been a wreck. Wreckety wreck, wreck, wreck. The other thing too is season 2 is going to be filled with a lot more stories and talking about vicious cycles and generational influences and just all these crazy things. We have some crazy guests, crazy, I love that word, incredible guests that have really gone through the mud. And so when I was thinking about season 2 and how I wanted to really align all of the episodes that come up ahead, is this idea of turning the page on your trip ups. So, like, what does that mean? When I think about that, it's like, okay, I have gone through XYZ. How do I actually turn the page on those trip ups? Like, so that the story continues, like the journey continues, and I get to my triumphs. How do I get to my triumphs? How do I get past this, Nate? How do I get past this? You don't understand what I've been through. You don't understand what I've suffered through. You don't know what mess I'm in right now. You don't know how much money I've spent with this problem. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And if not, I guarantee you someone else has. And one of these stories you will most definitely relate to. And if you're just joining for season 2, do yourself a favor and go back to episodes 1 through whatever for season 1. Okay? Don't miss out on all the good of all of that. And stay tuned. Until next time, I'm Nathan Cabrera with Trip Ups and Triumphs. You have a lovely day.